Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. Main Source Bank, headquartered in Greensburg, Indiana, offering products and services to fit every stage of life. More information at mainsourcebank.com. Main Source, life needs a great bank. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Smithville Communications, serving Southern Indiana with high-speed fiber gigabit internet. Smithville Fiber Gigabit Technology. Tap the power.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana News Desk. Some schools have been back in session for nearly a month. Experts say this balanced calendar approach is good for students, but in some cases, it's having a devastating effect on businesses.
If we see a decline in attendance and therefore a decline in revenue, it will impact our ability to grow and develop and to have jobs for 2,000 plus people every summer.
Hundreds of healthcare workers in Indiana are seeking treatment for stealing controlled substances. It's an issue that could affect anyone who shows up in an ER or on an operating table.
The pull and the desire and the draw to do it was just too much.
Ahead, what law enforcement officials are doing to try and stop the spread of drug abuse in hospitals. Those stories plus the latest on this week's top stories.
If this smoking ban goes through, we're probably not going to be here.
Right now on Indiana News Desk. Hello, I'm Joe Wren and welcome to Indiana News Desk. More than 5% of Hoosiers have abused prescription drugs. The data from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration shows it's a growing problem, particularly among healthcare workers. The term used to describe it is healthcare drug diversion. It occurs when hospital workers steal medications from a facility. As Barbara Harrington reports, loopholes in the law are making it difficult for law enforcement and hospitals to combat the problem.
So this one here.
Rigo Garcia dedicates his life to helping others.
The first time I met him, he was pre-opping a patient, and just his compassion for others and the way I saw him pre-op his patient, and I knew right then and there that he was genuinely in the profession because he wanted to care for people.
No one imagined the highly successful certified registered nurse anesthetist would need some help himself.
I was very, very driven professionally, very driven with my family.
But 4 years ago, Rigo severely broke his ankle. His doctor prescribed Vicodin. But even after the pain went away, Rigo kept taking the drug every day after work. At his worst, up to 12 pills in just one night. And it turned into a habit that proved nearly impossible to break.
When I did go back to work, still on prescription medications, I would just not take them while I was at work. I would run home to take them. I would take them before work, on the weekends, anytime I could. This is Dougie the drug dog. Dougie's a real dog.
Rigo's story sounds familiar to many of the people in this room. They're attending a training session hosted by the National Association of Drug Diversion Investigators, hoping to learn more about how to prevent and recognize drug diversion.
Diversion happens at every facility across the country that handles controlled substances. It's universal among institutions.
Kimberly New works as a controlled substance security consultant. She helps hospitals develop policies to prevent and recognize diversion. She says when providers abuse prescription drugs, they're putting everyone at the hospital at risk.
Patients can be harmed in a number of ways by a diverting healthcare provider. If they're a direct care provider, they may be working impaired and may actually render incompetent care to a patient, and the patient may be harmed.
It's difficult to put a number on how often that's happening because some facilities aren't reporting the problem. Instead, they choose to discipline employees themselves or ignore the issue altogether, a tactic police say isn't helping.
I think that majority of non-reporting is done deliberately. And I think some of it has to do with media. They're concerned about media attention, they're concerned about liability, lawsuits, all those things that I get that, but you know, when you don't report or you delay it, the liability and the issues can be much, much greater than just doing what's right when it happens.
There are regulations in place that require people to report instances of drug diversion at their workplaces, but it's hard to enforce. Columbus Police Department Sergeant Jay Frederick says compliance would be higher if regulations were tougher.
There are some things in place, but there's still a lot of loopholes. So it would be good to see the federal government lock that down, address this diversion in the healthcare field as a significant issue, and lock down some reporting requirements.
But in the meantime, Frederick says increasing awareness can go a long way in fighting drug diversion. He says healthcare providers are often nervous to ask for help or report others who may need it because they don't know the consequences. In Indiana, if professionals admit their addiction and successfully complete treatment, they can have the criminal charges removed from their records and their licenses can remain intact.
There's not many professions or jobs where you can own up to the addiction issue, go right into the treatment that's going to get you better, get you healthy, but you can keep your license and you can keep on practicing.
That's something Rigo didn't realize when he was struggling with his addiction. It took the hospital CEO confronting him and giving him an ultimatum before he got help.
If I knew personally what correct steps I could have taken, I would have done something a lot sooner. But the bottom line is I didn't know what steps were available to me at that time. I didn't know that there was a treatment center that I can go to and my job would be safe. And the thrills of round one of the addiction.
It's been more than 4 years since Rigo's abused pain medications, but it's still a part of his life he doesn't hide. He still works as a CRNA, but spends his spare time sharing his story with others, hoping to make a difference.
To tell us more about why this problem exists and what's being done to fix it, reporter Barbara Harrington joins us now. You know, it's not something you really think about when you're in the hospital. Your mind's on much other things, but what are healthcare workers doing to help divert themselves from taking that medication?
So when they're diverting these medications, Joe, what's happening is sometimes they're taking a prescription that they give to someone, a patient, and taking some of those pills. In some cases, they may be injecting a syringe medication to themselves and then replacing that solution with something else and then passing it on to the patients. And they have a lot of access to those medications, so it's risky.
So having an impaired doctor isn't the only risk that this possesses.
Right. When they're replacing some of those drugs with, say, if they take a syringe, it could be water or saline solution. They're giving that to a patient who then isn't getting the medication they need. And then they could also, with the syringe, be exposed to bloodborne pathogens.
Now, you said that doctors can actually get their licenses back?
That's something that surprises a lot of people who don't know about this problem. But if they go through the right steps, like treatment through a professional facility, and they stay sober, they don't relapse, then they can have their license remained intact. And in some cases, criminal charges, because diversion is a felony, those can be wiped from their record if they complete that treatment successfully.
Now, how big of a problem is this? I mean, one is too many, but kind of, do you have an idea of?
It's really hard to get an exact number on that. It's because, like we heard, hospitals aren't all reporting this, but Rigo Garcia, the nurse who was addicted and has gone through this, he said that about 600 nurses through the state are using the Indiana State Nurses Assistance Program. It's called iSNAP, and going through treatment. It's a huge problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Barbara. Sarah Whitmire is in this week for Alex Dirkman. She joins us now for the latest developments in this week's headlines.
Thanks, Joe. Hoosiers will have more options later this year when it comes to buying insurance on the Federal Health Exchange. The number of providers is increasing from 3 to 9. Hoosiers will be able to pick from 975 plans, up from less than 300 now. Department of Insurance officials say the increase is because many providers decided to wait and see how the first year of the Federal Health Exchange went before signing up. The state does expect the average cost of insurance plans this year in the exchange to go up 3 to 5%. The next enrollment period opens November 15th. Legal experts say oral arguments heard in Indiana's same-sex marriage case this week provide some indication as to how the court might rule in the lawsuit. Attorneys for both sides were questioned frequently by the three-judge panel in Chicago. Take a listen to a clip of the audio from the arguments. Judge Richard Posner questions Indiana Solicitor General Thomas Fisher's argument that the state has an interest in regulating procreation through marriage. Posner points out that same-sex couples in Indiana are allowed to adopt children, but not marry. And he described a situation in which a child of a same-sex couple is worried that his family's life is different from that of his classmates.
Now, which do you think is better for the psychological health, for the welfare of this child? To have the married same-sex couple or the unmarried?
Your Honor, I don't feel like it's my job to answer that question. That is for the Indiana legislature.
I'm asking you, do you have an opinion? Now, you may say,
not.
It's a matter of indifference to you. It turns out, of course, that Indiana provides, and then the federal government is dragged along with it, very substantial, tangible benefits to a married couple. Now, don't the children of a married couple, whether same-sex or opposite-sex, don't they benefit?
The ACLU and Lambda Legal argued on behalf of the same-sex couples, saying being able to choose whom you marry is a fundamental right, and the judges didn't let them off the hook either. Judge Ann Claire Williams asked if same-sex marriage was allowed, could the state continue to ban other marriages, such as those between first cousins or polygamous relationships. The Lambda Legal attorney said in those cases, the state would be able to do so if it could prove a valid state interest in doing so. IU law professor Steve Sanders says these kinds of questions provide some insight into what concerns the judges have with the different arguments, and cautions, though, against reading too much into them.
There are many, many times when people hearing an oral argument think that a judge is leaning a certain way or hates my position, and I end up winning the case. You can't always predict from oral argument. But in this case, I think you got a pretty good sense that the court simply was not buying Indiana's argument.
Sanders says he expects the Supreme Court to take up one of the other states' same-sex marriage cases this fall. If the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals doesn't rule on Indiana's case before then, he says it might end up just waiting for the Supreme Court to come down with its decision next summer. The U.S. Department of Education will extend Indiana's No Child Left Behind waiver that exempts the state from requirements of the federal No Child Left Behind law. Indiana was one of 7 states the federal government targeted earlier this year for not doing enough to put college and career-ready academic standards in place. Many of those concerns stemming from the state's decision to drop the Common Core standards. A loss of that waiver could have meant less flexibility in how federal education dollars are spent in local schools. The DOE still has work to do to meet the federal requirements. Officials say primarily the focus now is on improving the state's teacher evaluation system. Looking ahead to next year, Governor Mike Pence says he wants to maintain the state's $2 billion reserve.
That would only fund the state government for about a month and a half. And it exists as a backstop against downturns so that we won't have to burden taxpayers in the event that we see another season like we saw in the Great Recession in 2009.
To maintain that reserve, the state has twice asked universities to return 2% of their budgets to the state. Pence says he is also seeking ways to boost tax revenues by attracting new business to the state. Democrats accuse Pence of hoarding money and say the reserve funds will be better spent on programs such as in-home care for the elderly and pre-K education. Indiana's voucher program has only been around 3 years, but it's being called the best in the country. That's according to a report from the Center for Education Reform. Enrollment in Indiana's program has increased each year, with more than 19,000 students now receiving state money for private school tuition. The report calls Indiana's program the most inclusive because it accepts any student who meets the financial requirements and not just those who come from failing schools. State Superintendent Glenda Ritz opposes the voucher program, and earlier this year the Department of Education released a report saying the program costs the state $16 million rather than saving it $4 million as in the previous 2 years. Business leaders are pushing lawmakers to implement a new program that would allow them to reduce employee hours instead of laying them off during hard economic times. The program is called work sharing and essentially consists of two people sharing the same job. One might come in on Monday, for example, and the other comes in on Tuesday, but they both get to keep employee benefits such as health insurance and pensions. A legislative study committee who is considering the proposal plans to make a recommendation to the full legislature this year. Kokomo's Common Council is just 2 weeks away from approving a smoking ban that would limit lighting up in 21 and over bars, clubs, and lounges. As Joe Wren reports, those opposed to the ban say more than just their right to smoke is on the line.
Stella's Lounge opened 21 years ago. It's also the legal age to enter a smoking establishment in Kokomo. The 2006 ordinance only bans smoking in any place where minors may enter, but that might change. Monday night, the city's Common Council voted 5-4 in favor of an all-inclusive smoking ban.
You have your choice if you want to walk into the bar or not. You know it's smoking when you walk in there. If you don't want to, then don't come in.
Bartender Holly Long says she's a single mother and won't be able to make ends meet if the ban passes.
I'm not going to make the money that I was used to making. We may even have to close down.
Her boss and lounge owner, Stella Kling, says they're more than just a place to grab a drink. They partner with other bars in the area to raise money for charity.
They're trying to take our rights away. It's not against the law. So what are we doing wrong?
There's a final vote scheduled for September 8th. Mayor Greg Goodnight says it will likely come with amendments.
I understand the personal freedoms and the personal rights. I always use alcohol as a prime example, that even though it's a legal substance, I can purchase alcohol. I can't just take it with me wherever I want.
Goodnight says it will come down to, does the ban help Kokomo or hurt it?
If everything goes as planned, the historic Wigwam Gym in Anderson will be saved from demolition. The Wigwam was the second largest high school gym in the country, but because of the cost of operating it, the school district shut its doors. After a deal to save the property fell through earlier this year, the Anderson Redevelopment Commission and the Anderson Community Schools Board of Trustees now plan to hand the property over to two other businesses, Indianapolis-based Black and White Investments and Pine Brook Properties. Renovations are expected to begin early next year. Indiana State University is requesting $64 million from the state to expand and upgrade a building for its College of Nursing, Health, and Human Services. The school says it needs more room to meet the state's emphasis on life sciences. And a historic mansion is up for sale in Daviess County. It dates back to the early 1900s. Primarily, it's been used as a private residence, but on many occasions, it was a meeting place for early advocates of I-69. The house on Maple Street in Washington is known as either the Graham House or Mimi's House. It's on the National Register of Historic Places because of its Frank Lloyd Wright Prairie-style architecture. Robert Graham had it built in 1912 for his family. One of his sons, David Graham, later raised his family there too. When the kids moved out, David Graham and his wife began operating the home as a bed and breakfast. One day, they had a guest who was an economist by the name of David Reed.
This was actually purely serendipitous, but it turns out that David was not only the proprietor of this absolutely beautiful bed and breakfast, but he was also an activist in the community. He and his family for generations prior to him had been working very hard to try to ensure that Washington and the region around it had a vibrant economic base and was a thriving community.
The two Davids discussed plans for a highway that would bring economic growth to the region.
And he looked at the route, and he looked at us. He said, Graham, there's only one way you're ever going to get this road built or even started, and that is to get other states involved.
So it was Mimi's house where the foundation for I-69 was laid, although it would still be decades before crews broke ground for the road just south of Washington in Evansville. David Graham sold the property about 20 years ago, and Joe, the new owner of the house, has it listed for just less than $1 million.
And I hear David Graham will be back in October for a special honor.
He will. He called me and said they're going to dedicate a portion of I-69 in his name.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Indiana News Desk. Schools are starting earlier in the year. We explore how that affects student learning and what it means for local seasonal businesses. And Bloomington is singled out for being a fun and business-friendly city in Indiana. All this right here on Indiana News Desk.
10,000.
15? 15, you think?
20, 21,000?
600.
20. 18.5.
24.
It's at least 40.
Look at it.
4,500,000.
650.
20.
650.
This textile would be worth about $500,000.
$500,000?
No way.
I knew it. It's just a blanket.
Laying on the back of a chair. Well, sir, you have a national treasure.
Wow.
A national treasure. Congratulations.
I can't believe this.
Turn to PBS for stories that define the American experience.
All of this stuff was just erupting.
Revealing our strengths.
You create a new future.
Our struggles.
It's very American to say, this is not right.
These are our stories.
We were so innocent, and oddly enough, we were so American.
Our American experience.
Tuesday evening at 9.
Welcome back to Indiana News Desk. I'm Joe Wren. Remember when kids didn't go back to school until after Labor Day? Well, for most schools that was quite a while ago, but in recent years their start dates have been inching closer to the beginning of August. Researchers say shorter summers help students retain more information, but as Gretchen Frazee reports, it's also hurting businesses that rely heavily on summer crowds.
90-degree temperatures are bearing down on Indiana. It seems summer has finally arrived. If only this weather had arrived a few weeks earlier.
It really is the middle of summer, but all of our workforce is back into school. All of vacationing families are really back to school now. So Holiday World has to be closed today.
Holiday World used to stay open 7 days a week through the end of summer, but then school districts started to move their start dates earlier into August. The amusement park, which sees more than 12,000 visitors a day during its peak season, had to shut down during the week.
If we're not able to be open, our attendance goes down and our revenue goes along with it.
When schools shorten summer vacations, they can add more days to breaks throughout the school year. Advocates say students learn better when they're on this type of calendar.
So over the summertime, retention of information and knowledge goes south, and so the rationale beside it is to lessen that time that students are off.
Students in Mitchell have been in class for almost a month, but Phillips says the new school calendar adopted a few years ago doesn't differ drastically from the old schedule. The district adds 4 days to the start of the school year to allow extra vacation during fall break and over Thanksgiving.
Just like to, talk with the businesses and point out that this isn't much different than we've done for, 28, 30 years that I've been here.
Phillips says most businesses are going to be affected either way, since the number of school days stays the same, no matter when they're scheduled.
If you look at our schedule, we're only talking 3 or 4 days and really one weekend. And you're either going to go August 4th and end May 21st, or if you start, let's say, after Labor Day, you're going to go in the middle of June.
Steve Wilson owns the Holiday Drive-In just a few miles from the school in Mitchell.
I've had people say, well, you need to adapt. Well, there's not much of a way to adapt. Our business runs in the summer. When you take a month of summer away and throw it in the middle of the winter, I can't reopen late in the fall or early in the winter to run the theater. It's not cost effective to do that.
He used to keep the drive-in open on Sundays, but now he says he can't turn a profit on a school night.
It's probably cost us $10,000 a year here at this drive-in, which is probably about 15% of our gross.
Businesses like schools are learning to adapt. Holiday World is focusing on Halloween and Christmas-themed weekends to bring in revenue throughout the year.
And several people we interviewed also mentioned that this year was particularly bad because of the cold spring and cool, rainy summer. They say hopefully next year the weather will be better and help boost sales. Bloomington is getting a special honor. The Chamber of Commerce is naming it the 2014 Community of the Year. Indiana Chamber officials point to Bloomington's cultural, arts, and recreational attractions as reasons for choosing Bloomington out of a pool of 20 applicants.
And it really stood out for the educational activities, the development of technology, the development of the medical and biosciences cluster that is here, that is providing jobs and technology breakthroughs, as well as the quality of life that you have here in Bloomington and Monroe County.
All of these different individual investments are all part of a larger pattern, a quilt, if you will, of things that we're doing to try to boost the economy of the community. And so what I've tried to point out is our economic development strategy is to acknowledge the fact that quality of life is synonymous with economic growth.
There's no cash prize with the award, but Bloomington economic leaders say they hope the honor will help them market the city to potential businesses and residents. And a big weekend in Bloomington. College football starts. I can't believe it already. Indiana State, Saturday at noon.
Yeah, and all the new renovations over at the stadium should be fun.
It'll be fun. That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news in Southern Indiana throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. Main Source Bank, headquartered in Greensburg, Indiana, offering products and services to fit every stage of life. More information at mainsourcebank.com. Main Source, life needs a great bank. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Smithville Communications, serving Southern Indiana with high-speed fiber gigabit internet. Smithville Fiber Gigabit Technology. Tap the power.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.